Welcome back to Exposure Stories. For nearly 2 decades, Natalee Holloway's disappearance stood as one of the most haunting and emotionally charged mysteries of the modern era. What began as a joyful senior graduation trip to the Caribbean slowly transformed into a global obsession marked by fear, speculation, and heartbreak. Millions around the world followed every development, clinging to the hope that Natalee would be found alive. Yet year after year passed with no answers, leaving behind a silence filled with rumors, false leads, and unanswered questions. The case became more than a missing person investigation. It evolved into a painful reminder of how easily innocence can be shattered and how long justice can be delayed. On the night of May 30, 2005, Aruba was alive with celebration. High school seniors from the United States filled the island's clubs and beaches, marking the end of their childhood and the beginning of adult life. Among them was 18-year-old Natalee Holloway, a bright honors student from Mountain Brook, Alabama. That night she was last seen leaving the nightclub Carlos and Charlie's with Joran van der Sloot and brothers Deepak and Satish Kalpo. It was an ordinary scene, friends laughing, music playing, the island glowing with nightlife, but it would become the final confirmed moment anyone saw Natalee alive. The three young men initially told police they had dropped Natalee off safely at her hotel. However, when morning came and Natalee failed to show up for her return flight home, alarm bells rang immediately. Her luggage remained neatly packed in her room, her passport untouched. Everything suggested she had never planned to disappear. As fear spread among her classmates and chaperones, the local authorities were notified, and what followed was one of the most extensive searches in Aruba's history. Search teams scoured beaches, cliffs, forests, construction sites, and ocean waters. Helicopters flew overhead while divers searched the sea. Dogs trained to track human scent were brought in, and volunteers joined law enforcement in the desperate hunt. Despite the massive effort, not a single belonging of Natalee was found. No phone, no shoes, no purse, and no physical evidence of a struggle. The complete absence of clues left investigators baffled and the public deeply unsettled. How could someone vanish so completely? As attention focused on the three men last seen with her, their stories began to change. Timelines shifted, locations differed, small details contradicted one another. These inconsistencies fueled suspicion, particularly toward Joran van der Sloot, whose behavior often appeared evasive and unsettling. Arrests were made, but without forensic evidence or witnesses, each detention ended in release. The cycle of arrest and freedom created a sense of justice slipping through the cracks, intensifying public outrage and mistrust. While the investigation struggled, the media descended on Aruba, transforming the island into the center of an international storm. News outlets ran constant updates, experts debated theories, and armchair detectives analyzed every detail. With no body and no clear answers, speculation flourished. Some believed Natalee had been trafficked, others thought she was alive and hidden, while many feared she had been killed and her body concealed forever. The lack of resolution allowed hope and despair to exist side by side. At the heart of the tragedy was Natalee herself, a young woman whose life had only just begun. She was known as disciplined, compassionate, and ambitious. Having earned a full scholarship to the University of Alabama, she dreamed of becoming a doctor. Teachers and friends described her as responsible and driven, someone destined to make a difference. Her disappearance felt especially cruel because of the promise she carried and the future that awaited her. That contrast between who she was and how she vanished made the case emotionally devastating. Natalee's mother, Bate Holloway, became the public face of the search. Refusing to give up, she traveled tirelessly, spoke to the media, and pressed authorities for answers. Her determination resonated worldwide, turning her into a symbol of a mother's relentless love. Even as years passed, Bate refused to accept silence. For her, the search was not only about finding Natalee but about uncovering the truth, no matter how painful it might be. As time went on, doubts about the investigation grew stronger. Many questioned whether Aruban authorities had acted swiftly or thoroughly enough in the crucial early hours. Suspicions intensified when it was revealed that Joran van der Sloot's father was a respected judge on the island. While no definitive proof of interference was ever established, the perception alone damaged public trust. Critics argued that political influence and concerns over tourism may have softened the investigation, allowing critical opportunities to slip away. In 2008, hope briefly surged when Joran van der Sloot claimed during a secret recording that Natalee had died and that he had disposed of her body. The confession stunned the world, but the hope quickly collapsed when he admitted the story was a lie meant to impress the person he was speaking to. This cruel deception deepened the Holloway family's pain and reinforced Joran's image as manipulative and untrustworthy. The truth remained buried, and the case once again stalled. 5 years after Natalee vanished, tragedy struck again, this time in Lima, Peru. In 2010, 21-year-old Stephanie Flores was found brutally murdered in a hotel room. The suspect was Joran van der Sloot. The similarities between the two cases were impossible to ignore. Stephanie had reportedly discovered information related to Natalee on Joran's laptop, and shortly afterward she was killed. Unlike in Aruba, the evidence in Peru was undeniable. Joran was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to decades in prison. For many, Joran's conviction in Peru confirmed what they had long suspected about Natalee's fate. It painted a chilling picture of a man capable of extreme violence and manipulation. Yet even with Joran behind bars, Natalee's case remained unresolved, leaving her family without closure and without a body to mourn. Justice for one young woman only emphasized the absence of justice for another. The final breakthrough came in 2023, nearly 18 years after Natalee's disappearance. Joran van der Sloot was extradited to the United States to face federal charges related to extortion and wire fraud after he attempted to profit from Holloway's grief by promising false information. As part of a plea deal, Joran agreed to confess fully to what happened on that night in Aruba. What he revealed was horrifying. According to his confession, Natalee rejected his sexual advances on the beach and defended herself. Enraged, he kicked her violently, knocking her unconscious, then struck her repeatedly with a cinder block until she died. He claimed he pushed her body into the ocean and walked away, returning to his normal routine as if nothing had happened. His cold, emotionless delivery shocked the world and confirmed the worst fears of Natalee's family. The confession officially cleared the Calpo brothers and ended years of uncertainty, but it brought no peace. Natalee's remains have never been recovered, leaving her family without the most basic form of closure. Joran received a 20-year U.S. federal sentence to run alongside his Peruvian sentence, ensuring he remains imprisoned for many years. Still, questions linger about whether any punishment can truly compensate for a life stolen and decades of suffering. Holloway's strength throughout the ordeal became one of the most enduring elements of the case. After years of grief, false hope, and manipulation, she finally heard the truth she had fought so hard to uncover. In court, she stated clearly that Joran van der Sloot was no longer a suspect, he was the killer. Her words reflected the weight of nearly 20 years of unanswered prayers and relentless determination. Natalee Holloway's story is not only about a crime but about the devastating cost of delayed justice. It exposes the complexities of international investigations, the danger of power and influence, and the emotional toll of living without answers. Though the truth eventually surfaced, it arrived too late to save a life or ease the years of pain endured by those who loved her. Natalee's legacy now serves as a solemn reminder of a bright future cut short, and a warning that silence and inaction can allow darkness to endure far longer than it ever should.